He is the president of the Italian Federation, IAP, and also IFOM board member. Then I will continue with Niels Hallberg. He is the president of ICROFOS, a research institute. Director, sorry, that's always a problem with the names. So I will continue with Sieta van Kemperma. I hope I pronounce it well. She's from the European Milk Board. Then Tres Robbins from BirdLife. They're responsible for the CAP reform. Mr. Hulot, well known. He's the head of the organic unit at the DG Agri. Then at my right side, Johannes Niebel. He's replacing Mr. Arnaud Petit from Copa Cochega. Then Paul Holmbeck from Organic Denmark. And last but not least, now I have to look, Robert Pedersen from the European Public Health and Agricultural Consortium. So for the discussion we will have now, I just will have a question for each of the panelists, and then we will go very quick to you, to the audience, so that we come into a discussion with all. First I want to ask you, Mr. Niebel, we have heard in the speech of Mr. Hogeven that there is really a need that we come to a change of agricultural policy. And now we have the situation that the greening requirements in the Commission's proposition for the GAP, we have a baseline that is below the baseline that we have as good agricultural practice. So how can farmers, how can politicians, how can maybe Copa Cochega be convinced that there is a need to come forward with higher greening levels?
Oh, that was a difficult question. First of all, let me say, as you said, I'm replacing Mr. Arnaud Petit, who's not able to be here today. And just to introduce myself, I am the chairman of the Working Party of Organic Farming in Copa Cochega, but I think mostly I'm going to try to express the Copa positions and not specifically the Organic Working Party. Honestly, I can't tell you how we do that. As you know, we have a lot of different interests in Europe and in the different member states. North and South have different views on many things. We have seen that today as well. We have East and West. We have the old member states and the new member states. And in our organization, COPA, all these different views are represented, which always makes it extremely difficult to make a position, just even to make a position. That's just to tell how about the conditions for the work are. And I think you could somehow say that maybe the compromise, which has to be agreed on in EU, COPA has already tried to make that compromise, and it has been very difficult for COPA to do that. And so honestly, at this moment, I can't tell you. It will have to be discussed further on. We'll have to have new discussions. I think the whole position, the whole question of the CAP reform will move on. I think it will take maybe several years to finish it. And I think we will follow the discussion, and there will be new inputs, and so there will be new positions again. So sorry, I can't be more specific.
Okay. Thank you. So my next question goes to Mr. Peterson. You have the impression that the CAP is only for farmers. So the question is, what can be implemented in the CAP reform towards a more consumer-oriented and healthy diet-oriented policy or to reach such aims?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question, and I think we have to look at a little bit at the history of the common agricultural policy. When CAP started, we like to think that it had a very strong public health perspective because it was about food security in Europe after World War II. Now, I know this isn't necessarily completely true, but we feel that it's lost its connection with citizens and health during the past 50 years. And now what we really need to do is look forward at the next 50 years. And I think agriculture policy, it's no longer simply about producing more. It has to deliver a wide variety of services. And I think, as we heard yesterday in the opening sessions, it's about that this is public money, and what we expect from the public money is public good, and not just merely to go to farming. And I think part of the situation, it's not just about the money, but it's also about the distribution of resources. And I think, as we also heard, and I think the presentation this morning reaffirms the fact that perhaps what we really need is a common food policy. And this is not meant to be at the expense of farmers, but I think the public perspective is that we need to look at sustainable production and sustainable consumption. And I think looking at the economic benefits and the benefits to society, that's the direction we need to go in. And as we all know, I think it came out that health and well-being is central to what citizens want. And I think we need to reaffirm that. And I think it should be seen as a partnership between farmers and citizens.
Okay, and what are your concrete suggestions to the CAP reform?
Now, this is where I would say, in the broader perspective, and I truly believe when we talk about healthy food, we have to have a much broader definition of health. So I think some of the greening aspects, they perhaps don't go far enough, but it's a step in the right direction. If we look at the costs related to health and how loss of biodiversity and climate change will affect those, it'll be huge. So we support the greening measures, and we also support some of the common market reorganization, where they're actually, I would say, doing small experiments with consumption policy and trying to build links between production and how we can promote healthier diets. So those are and on the very concrete proposals that we support the greening measures. Don't think they go far enough. I would love to see more support go to farming systems that provide better ecosystem services.
Thank you. I have some more difficult questions. The next goes to Sieta Van Keimpema from the European Milk Board. The money the farmers get from the CAP, they have a high share on farmers' income. So how can we go on that farmers get fair prices and get the prices they need for the work they do? And what will be the relationship between the CAP development and development forward fair prices?
Yes, thank you. An easy question. No. The European Milk Board made quite a detailed plan for a monitoring agency that monitors not only production costs, but also demand in the market, etc., etc. If cost of production is a vast part of the way we are paid, what we see now is that the margins go to industry, to trade, to suppliers, etc., but not to producers as a whole. Not only the milk producers have no revenues, also the pig farmers, the fruit farmers, the vegetable farmers. It's all in studies from Wageningen, so it's all good documented. So there is a lack of concentration on cost of production. It seems that when you are talking about producing food, everybody thinks that you have to do it for free. So also a lack of respect for farmers for the income they need. If we have a cost-covering price, We do not need the subsidies, and you can use the subsidies in those parts of Europe where it's hard to farm, but farming is important for labor, for the people who live in the land, etc., etc. So you cannot, like the former speaker said, it's not only economic, it's not only market. You should look at a bigger perspective. Agriculture is about people, and that is what's lacking today, the thinking about people, respect for people who provide us with food, but also the lack of respect for people who want a different kind of agriculture. And I think that if we have more respect for each other, listen to each other, we come to very good solutions for problems that are not too big, but are made big because the people who benefit most from the current system and make the most money from the current system do not want to change it and have the biggest lobby in the European Commission, because I see them from the trade and from the industry every day that I am in Brussels, and that's not so often. They are there, they have the big offices, they have the big money, and they have the big lobby. And they tell that it's economically better for the European Union to provide them with a lot of means. But the effect is that our farmers are 58 years old. There's only 7% of the farmers younger than 35. They are really disappearing, so our food production eventually is disappearing also. And so sustainability, or a really ecological way of producing food, will be a thing of the past if they go on like this.